Hello, my name is Kristen Wilds. I'm here to talk to you about just a few of the many things I learned in interpersonal communications. Improving interpersonal communications doesn't have to start with speaking, it needs to start with listening. According to Adler and Proctor, authors of our textbook Looking Out, Looking In, listening is defined as the process that consists of hearing, attending, understanding, responding, and remembering others' messages. As author Stephen Covey states in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Most people are either speaking or preparing to speak. In the next couple of minutes, I would like to discuss with you how using your own personal mission statement, along with incorporating habits 3 and 5, into your day-to-day can not only improve your interpersonal relationships, but also improve your overall quality of life. The 2 things that stood out most to me in the book 7 Habits are habits 3 and 5. I'd like to share why I feel it's important to incorporate your personal mission statement into a weekly schedule instead of a daily one, and why it's important to use empathic listening in your relationships. Let's begin with my own personal mission statement. So my personal mission statement is, I will wake up every day with a grateful attitude. I will leave room for spontaneity in my life. I will look at every experience as a lesson and try to walk away from each lesson positively. And I will not let my past depict my future. My personal mission statement is a reflection of me. It's something I use in my daily life. You can make several personal mission statements if you'd like. I know I was talking to my boss, and he said that he has one for work and one for being a father and one for being a husband. For me, the one that I made is kind of for my whole life. It incorporates all aspects. So it has helped me with 3 different kinds of interpersonal relationships, which is work, spouse, and friendships. There are a few steps that will help guide you to start developing your personal mission statement. These were what were really helpful for me. Step 1 is to identify past successes. This can be personal successes, professional successes, or goals that you have accomplished. And it's okay to toot your own horn every once in a while with this. Step 2 is to identify your core values and what makes you, you. Step 3 is to identify your contributions. What have you contributed in your life that has made an impact? This can be at work or at home with family. There's no wrong answers here. Step 4 is to identify your goals and write them down. And step 5 is to write your personal mission statement. Now that we've talked about my mission statement, I've given you tips on how to create yours. Let's talk about how to incorporate that mission statement into a weekly schedule. Put first things first. As Stephen Covey says in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the key is to not prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Have you ever heard the expression, there's just not enough time in the day? The person that came up with that expression has probably never made a weekly schedule. Instead of planning the day-to-day, they need to start planning for the week. You may be thinking, I don't know what I've got going on tomorrow, let alone Friday at 4 p.m., especially in the crazy pandemic that we're in right now. This may seem like a pretty daunting task, but I promise if you try it at least once, you will see how much your perspective on time changes. I used to be one of those people that would create daily to-do lists, and I would get the list done, but at the end of the day, I never felt like I accomplished anything. But now that I'm doing my weekly schedule, it's easier for me to accomplish my goals and actually feel like I ended the week accomplishing them. It's important to utilize your personal mission statement when making your weekly schedule and checking that it coincides with your statement, checking that your schedule coincides with your statement. Make sure you're not prioritizing or accomplishing things you don't want or need to be doing. This is super important. One thing that really put how I organize my time into perspective for me was when I read You Were Always Delegating, whether it be to time or to people, from 7 Habits. That really resonated with me. As Stephen Covey describes, when you are delegating to time, it's important to practice efficiency. And when you're delegating to people, it's important to practice effectiveness. This is something that really stuck with me and has been especially important in my work-life balance. Next, I'd like to discuss the power of empathic listening, which is habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Until taking this class, I was literally always doing the opposite. I was always trying to get my own point across, not thinking about the other person speaking. And truth be told, I was really selfish as a listener. I never took an introspective look at how I listened until this class opened my eyes to it. Even since learning about empathic listening, I still struggle to break my old selective listening habits. Communication is the most important skill in life. Think about how often you communicate on a daily basis. This is something we use every single day, multiple times a day. And we've been taught, how to read and how to write and how to speak, but we've never actually been taught how to listen, which is one of the biggest factors in communicating. There are 5 levels of listening, which are ignoring, pretending, selective listening, which is something I'm very guilty of, attentive listening, and empathic listening. In order to become a successful empathic listener, paraphrasing is a great listening response that lets the speaker know that you are tuned in to what they have been saying. It's basically rewording what the speaker said to you without adding anything. This can be extremely helpful in both personal and professional settings. I've used this a lot since learning about it in my work life, and I do find that I communicate easier with people at work when I'm paraphrasing. According to Adler and Proctor, only 10% of communication is actually speaking. Isn't that wild? Like 10%, when I read that, my mind was just blown. But it makes sense, doesn't it? 30% of communication relies on sound, so mostly our tone of voice, and 60% of communication relies on body language. So if you think about how you communicate with your friends versus your family, your tone might be different, your body language might be different. Something that I think about is how I communicated with my family as a teenager versus how I communicate with my family now. It's totally different. In conclusion, we have discussed how creating a personal mission statement can help guide you by principle, how creating a weekly schedule can improve your efficiency and effectiveness, and how becoming a more empathic listener can positively affect your life and your interpersonal relationships. Becoming an empathic listener may not be easy. It means listening with the intent to understand. So when you're communicating, are you tuned in? Are you truly listening? Or are you just preparing to speak? Thank you.